Wow, 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 Islanders. What a week for the cruise industry. Almost every single day, we had blockbuster news of a cruise line changing their policies and protocols to welcome unvaccinated guests, changing their policies and protocols to drop testing for vaccinated guests. It has indeed been a busy week. We hinted on Thursday's show that Carnival Cruise Line, Carnival Corporation, loves to announce things on Fridays. We have figured that out over the last 2+ years. And we thought yesterday, nope, it's not going to happen today. But at the very end of the day, Carnival Corporation announced several changes for its brands, and among those, Carnival Cruise Line. The moment that a lot of you have been waiting for, news from Carnival Cruise Line is in. Unvaccinated guests are going to be able to sail in some capacity. Testing has been dropped in some capacity. Let's talk about this big news from Carnival Cruise Line and review the news of the week and what it means for the cruise industry right now on Island Time. A big happy Saturday to all you Islanders. I hope you're having a restful and relaxing weekend. While you're resting and relaxing, you might as well do so in the islands, right? I invite you to drop your anchor. Let's spend some time relaxing, chilling, talking about cruise news and cruising in the islands. I appreciate you for stopping by the show today. I am Derek, and together we're going to enjoy our time together. It's been a blockbuster week. It really has. No matter what cruise line you prefer, what cruise line you usually sail, they probably put out news this week. Think about this. Policies and protocols in the cruise audience of Carnival Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, and Norwegian Cruise Line has expanded this week. All of a sudden, all the major cruise lines in the United States are now welcoming guests on board who are unvaccinated. They're going to welcome guests on board who are vaccinated, but they're not going to require a test. This group of cruisers that's been almost the same for the last year is now expanded. More people can now cruise. No matter where they come from, no matter what their personal beliefs are, they can cruise. It's been a great week in the cruise industry. It really has. We've seen protocols, instead of these big global protocols that we've had for a year, protocols are shifting to where these ships, individual ships, leave from, where they're headed to. We're going to see that trend continue, but what cruising has looked like and the people on board, what they look like as individuals and collectively, it has changed. It's going to be completely different. I must ask you up front, as we look back at this news from the big major cruise lines, as we look at the news from the CDC, right? Just our everyday life, things are changing. Most of you know Amanda is a school teacher, and they've had different policies and protocols they've had to go by the last couple of years. But the news from the CDC this week that says, hey, we're going to relax a lot of these COVID protocols that have been in place for 2+ years. It's been a great week, not just for the cruise industry, but for Americans in the world trying to get back to some sort of normal. Let us know what you think on all of the news in the comment section below. I usually ask a question toward the end of the show. It's at the beginning of the show this time because it has been a major week. I want to get right into the email from Carnival. Carnival's announcement, some of it follows in line with what Royal Caribbean and Norwegian has done, but Carnival really, you could tell, they've waited. It took them longer than Royal Caribbean and Norwegian, but their announcement was much more fine-tuned. You really, once you read it and you see it, you know where vaccinated guests can sail from and sail to. You know about testing and who has to be tested, who doesn't have to be tested. I'm going to show you the email right here. Excuse me while I read most of this from the screen, but I want to get this right. There's a lot of fine-tuned details. I want to start with this right here. We suspected that Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian would change their protocols toward the end of the summer, right? The demand was up during the summer. Why do they need to change protocols then? But as summer winds down, people go back to school, they go back to work, and sometimes it's a slow time of cruising season. They change these protocols. The audience in who can cruise is now bigger than it has been since pre-COVID, and here's what Carnival had to say. As we finish a very busy and successful summer travel season, we are pleased to announce protocol updates that meet public health goals but recognize the evolving nature of COVID-19. With these changes, we are making it easier for more guests to sail with simplified vaccination and testing guidelines, including no testing for vaccinated guests on sailings less than 16 nights, and eliminating the exemption request process for unvaccinated guests who will only need to show a negative test result at embarkation. You heard that right. No testing for vaccinated guests on sailings that are less than 16. That's a huge number, 16 nights. That's huge. Let's dive into this. All new guidelines are effective starting on Tuesday, September the 6th. There's been some questions. Why a Tuesday? I don't know. But that's when they're starting. That's when they're in effect. Tuesday, September the 6th or later, and they include this. Vaccinated guests must continue to provide evidence of their vaccination status. You can use Verify if you would like, or you can bring that vaccine card with you and show it as you check in. Pre-cruise testing is no longer required. Pre-cruise testing is no longer required for those vaccinated guests. 16 nights or less. That's huge. That's almost every one of you, right? It is. Pre-cruise testing is no longer required except for the following destinations: Canada, Bermuda, Greece, and Australia. If you're sailing to those places, be sure and read those guidelines. Some days at some places you have to test 2 days before. Some it is 3. We're not going to go by each of them individually, but those are the exceptions. Unvaccinated guests are welcome to sail and are no longer required to apply for a vaccine exemption. The waiting game, right? We've done that with our kids. You book your cruise, you pay for your cruise, you apply for the exemption, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and they let you know like 2 weeks before you leave, sometimes a week before you leave, you're going, or maybe you're not going. It's no longer there. Vaccine exemptions are gone except for cruises in Australia or voyages that are 16 nights, again, that big number, or longer. Unvaccinated guests or those who do not provide proof of vaccination must present the following of the results of a negative PCR or antigen test taken 3 days within 3 days of embarkation, except for the following destination regulations. That's Canada, Bermuda, and Australia. But for the most part, if you're unvaccinated and you're cruising, take your test within 3 days. You're going to be just fine. Here are a couple other caveats, some fine details here. Unvaccinated guests ages 12 and older are unable to sail on cruises to Bermuda. There's no exceptions on that. Again, local, right? We're seeing these local protocols. Unvaccinated guests ages 12 and older are unable to sail on cruises to Canada unless they meet those Canadian requirements. Guests sailing to Canada and Bermuda will be asked to confirm their vaccination status within 21 days. So some of that doesn't change, as Carnival has been doing. Failure by the guests to confirm vaccination status will unfortunately result in cancellation, and we've seen that happen as well. Certain destinations may have protocols that prohibit debarkation by unvaccinated guests, which are largely consistent with their guidelines for passengers arriving by air. So while unvaccinated guests may sail after presenting the results of the negative COVID-19 test, they will need to remain on board for certain locations: Cartagena, Colombia, Grand Turk for unvaccinated guests 18 years or older. Also Bermuda, Bonaire, Grand Cayman, St. Kitts, Tortola for unvaccinated guests 12 years or older. So although Carnival's going to let you get on the ship unvaccinated, you take your test. If you're going to St. Kitts, if you're going to Grand Cayman, if you're going to Grand Turk, you cannot get off the ship. Be sure you understand that as you begin to book your cruises, that there may be some ports you have to stay on. And let me say this, there are some countries, some islands that right now may let you get off the ship, but if their cases rise, they could always say if you're unvaccinated, you can't get off the ship. Just know that. Voyages 16 nights and longer will continue to have vaccination and testing requirements that only make sense because of the itinerary plus the length. For guests who have a pending vaccine exemption application and are awaiting confirmation that for cruises departing September 6th or later, the booking is confirmed, unless booked on a sailing that calls to Canada, Bermuda, or Australia. We look forward to welcoming more guests on board. We've got lots happening with Carnival Luminosa and Carnival Celebration joining our fleet this November, and more to come in 2023. Whatever the ship, home port, or itinerary that works for you, our great onboard team is ready to deliver a fun and memorable vacation. That is Carnival Cruise Line right there saying, come on, let's go, let's cruise. I asked the question the other day, would Carnival Cruise Line protocols be more like Norwegian or like Royal Caribbean? And they're more concrete. It's more black and white. This is it, this is not it. They're more like Norwegian's protocols. And it's great to see that no testing is required for vaccinated guests, not just on 5 days or less, but 16 days or less. It is big. The cruise industry landscape has completely changed, as we said at the top of the show, over the last 6 weeks. But really, it's changed when you look back at months and months, the progress that we've made. There's a lot of us islanders who have stuck with the cruise industry. There's a lot of us who have cruised multiple cruises. We've done whatever they've asked to do, right? It was all worth it. And it's nice to see now that we're at a place where unvaccinated guests can go on board, where testing is relaxed for vaccinated guests, and other protocols continue to change. Islanders, I am excited for what's ahead. This is not the end. So many think this is it. We're back now. This is not the end. Protocols will continue to change in the fall, in the spring. They will continue to change. You know this. We're going to be here as they continue to change. We will bring you the news, of course, in its factual way, and we will share how that news impacts the industry. Islanders, we thank you for your trust. We thank you for coming here almost every single day to get your cruise news. We thank you most of all for your loyalty and your dedication and what you contribute to this community. So many of you write in the comment section box every day. You're on our Facebook page. You email me. You stay involved. You are an important part of this community, and I thank you for being that important part. We hope you have a great weekend. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. It's going to be an awesome live show. Think about it. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, we're going live. We're going to talk about all of this, and we're going to have lots of fun along the way, playing games, of course, and interacting with each other. I hope you have a great Saturday. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on Island Time.